Pokemon Sun and Moon have been out for over a week now, and it's pretty much safe to say that these games are the best in the series. If you just take a look at the graphics, story, characters, and Pokemon, you can definitely tell that there is a lot of thought and heart that went into these games. And as you guys know, Game Freak loves to add lots of Easter eggs and references to their games. And Pokemon Sun and Moon is no exception, which is why today, I'm going to be showing you guys all the Easter eggs and references that I found playing through the games. And if I somehow manage to miss any Easter eggs that you found, then be sure to let me know in the comments section below. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. And with that being said, let's get started. One of the first Easter eggs that I found playing through Pokemon Sun and Moon was at the very beginning of the game. If you go to the TV that is in your room and turn it on, some text will pop up saying, "There is a movie playing." The scene is showing 4 boys walking down a set of railroad track. This is a clear reference to the very popular 1980s movie Stand By Me. What makes this Easter egg even more interesting is that in the original Red and Blue games, the same exact reference is made. But why is this specific movie so important? Well, back in the 1980s, this movie was very popular in Japanese culture. So much so that they even sold special copies of the movie so Japanese people could learn English and even spread into Japanese boy bands. So I guess this movie must have been a big inspiration for the creators. Each main Pokemon game has always featured a man that exclaims his fascination with either science or technology, and Pokemon Sun and Moon are no different. When you walk up Route 1 and talk to the man on the right, you will get the classic "The power of science is amazing" line. One of the most iconic scenes from the original Pokemon anime has to be when Ash stood in front of the flock of Spearow. No one can ever forget that moment where Pikachu jumps off of Ash's shoulder and lets out one of the most powerful thunder shocks I have ever seen. Now this may be a bit of a stretch, but in the beginning of the game, you are faced with the task of protecting Cosmog from, guess what, a flock of Spearow. And what happens during that skirmish? You protect Cosmog, and Cosmog lets out a giant burst of energy. Sound familiar? Youngster Joey and his top percentage of Rattata has always been a revered character within the Pokemon franchise. And in these games there is a clear reference to the youngster with his Alolan cousin Jimmy with his top percentage Alolan Rattata. It's good to see that the legend will never be forgotten. Speaking of youngsters, there is another very popular quote from another youngster within the games, and it is the youngster who says that they love shorts, they are so comfortable and easy to wear. Now I searched everywhere for some youngsters saying that legendary sentence, but I could not find a single soul saying it. Although the closest thing I did find was a kid who just yells the word kneecaps, which could reference the exposed kneecap short show, but again, that is a bit of a stretch. Now this reference could possibly just be a coincidence, but near the beginning of the game, Professor Kukui explains to you how to run in the games. While explaining, he mentions that if you press B to dash, you can be a B-dasher. A B-dasher, for those who are unaware, is a cart that is very widely used within the game Mario Kart. Again, this may just be a coincidence, but still fun to mention. Another reference that Professor Kukui mentions is also near the beginning of the game. Once you and Lily walk over to Professor Kukui's lab, you can overhear him shouting, "My body is ready." This is a clear reference to Reggie's Wii Fit demonstration back in E3 2007, probably the most famous quote in Nintendo's history.
My body is ready.
In the Hau'oli City Mall, there is a lady standing by a poster who says, "Hey, under this poster, there's nothing. Of course there's no Switch, silly." This of course is another reference to Gen 1, specifically the Rocket Game Corner. As you guys know, in order to get into the Rocket hideout below, you have to pull a switch that is behind a poster. This is one of the more noticeable Easter eggs, but it's still fun to mention. Another interesting Easter egg that could be a huge reference to another popular Nintendo game is located in the Hau'oli City clothing store. If you walk over to the far right, you will find what looks to be a Mario suit. The resemblance is uncanny, but it could also be a Pokemon breeder outfit. I honestly couldn't decide which one it was, so I'll just let you decide. In the beginning of Pokemon Sun and Moon's development, a lot of people speculated that these would be heavily similar to the Gen 2 games Pokemon Gold and Silver. The reason for this is because of the similarities between Kalos and Kanto and how the number of Pokemon in Kalos are oddly fewer than the other regions. Meaning of course that maybe Sun and Moon could be connected to Kalos like Johto is to Kanto. Now although these rumors are proven false, there are still a ton of references to Gen 2 in these games. The first one that I found was located in the Hau'oli City Police Department. If you go to the corner of the station, you can clearly see Gold and Silver keys, an obvious nod to Pokemon Gold and Silver. Pokemon Sun and Moon brought a new replacement to the gyms called Island Trial. All of the trials contain a trial captain who guides you through the entire course, and one of these trial captains, Lana, mentions that she once reeled in a red Gyarados. This red Gyarados is obviously a reference to the shiny red Gyarados found in the Lake of Rage back in Gen 2. It could also be a reference to Gen 4, where in the beginning of the game, Barry and the main character search for a red Gyarados. Either way, how lucky can she be to find a shiny Gyarados? This next reference is a lot more easier to point out because it has been mentioned a lot more frequently throughout the story. As you guys know, the Pokemon Slowpoke just so happens to have a very delicious tail that people and Pokemon love to consume. And in Pokemon Gold and Silver, Team Rocket was infamously cutting off Slowpoke's tails so they can sell it for some good money. This act is also seen in Sun and Moon, where various NPCs talk about how delicious Slowpoke's tails are, and even the evil Team Skull are also seen trying to cut off Slowpoke's tail. It really makes you wonder, what are in those tails that make it so delicious? A man to the left of the clothing shop in Hiahia City mentions that trainers from the Kanto and Johto regions came together to form the city. These are of course the areas in which Gen 1 and Gen 2 take place. And the final reference to Gen 2 that I found is all the way in the second island. The entirety of Malie Garden is one big reference to Johto, more specifically Ecruteak City. If you talk to NPCs around the area, they make several comments comparing themselves to the Gen 2 region. And what seals the deal for this reference is that one of the items that you can obtain in this area is the Rage Candy Bar, which is a signature item in Pokemon Gold and Silver. On the topic of Malie Garden, there is a point in the game where you can actually notice a huge reference to the Nugget Bridge. Return to the Malie Garden after you progressed in the story, and you will be greeted by 5 trainers and a man at the end who will give you a prize. Of course, this is a clear reference to the Nugget Bridge, and the texts are even the exact same as the originals. It's a very fun little reference, and you even get asked to join Team Rocket. But of course, they disbanded a long time ago. Or did they? No, they did. Just kidding. Moving on, a new feature that was added in Pokemon Sun and Moon was the Pokefinder. The Pokefinder itself is actually a reference to a popular game called Pokemon Snap. The game's objective is obviously to take pictures of wild Pokemon, but this feature allows the user to take pictures in certain areas of Pokemon doing interesting things. Along with this feature came a rating system and one of the funniest Easter eggs in these games. Once a photo was taken and rated, there is a possibility that one of the comments could be 7.8 out of 10 too much water, a clear reference to IGN's infamous ORAS review. Oh Game Freak, you jokesters. Next up, if you go to any Pokemon Center within the games, there is a new store within the center called the Cafe. If you visit any day of the week and buy a drink, you can get a certain biscuit depending on the day you go in. Some of them are even from previous generations that you played, like the Rage Candy Bar, the Lava Cookie, and even the Lumiose Gallete. Sounds good just thinking about it. Moving on to some in-game trades, on Route 5, there is a trainer that will give you a Bounce Suite for a Lillipup. What's important about this trade is that the OT of the Bounce Suite when you receive it is Kihei. Now for those who don't know, Kihei is actually a census designated place within Maui, which is actually the current island that you're on when talking to him. A popular fan theory within the Pokemon community is that Cubone is a baby Kangaskhan with his mom's skull. This theory has been one of the most debated within the community, being debunked and argued since the first game's release. Pokemon Sun and Moon pays tribute to this theory though. If you find a Cubone in the wild, there is a chance that it could call out for a Kangaskhan to appear. Keep in mind, it is a slim chance to happen, but if you are patient enough, the Kangaskhan will appear. Moving back over to the second island, there is a resort called the Hanno Grande Resort. You can find and talk with a veteran trainer named Roger, where he introduces himself to the player as Future. Eventually, the trainer becomes upset that the player isn't able to recognize him and then challenges you to a battle, telling you that you better be ready to face Future. This is all in reference to Israel is Kamaka Viva Ole, a legendary Hawaiian singer who is best known in the US for his performance of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. This is somewhat of an obscure reference given that the singer Game Freak is alluding to unfortunately passed away in 1997, and usually Pokemon fans are born a bit after that. Still though, this Easter egg is by far the coolest one that I've found, and shows how much Game Freak cares about their Hawaiian-inspired origins. Speaking of Hawaiian origins, if you head over to Route 8, you will find a trainer that will say, "There's this dude near here who says he wants to make a whole theme park full of nothing but Pokemon restored from fossils." And if you head further into the forest, you will find a Pokemon breeder that will say, "Welcome to my dream park, where dreams become reality and fossils become Pokemon. Someday, this whole place is going to be filled to bursting with Pokemon from the ancient past. That's my dream for this. The Dream Park, to bring the ancient world back to life." This is a clear reference to the 90s classic Jurassic Park, and the Pokemon breeder could even be a reference to John Hammond. If you're wondering why Jurassic Park, it's because the movie was actually filmed in Hawaii, hence the reference. Keeping the movie theme going, if you head down over to Po Town, there will be a specific Team Skull grunt on top of a car who yells, "What a lovely day." Now this quote comes from the very popular movie Mad Max Fury Road. Now sure, you may say that it's just a saying, but if you watch the movie, you'll know that the main character Max is actually standing on a car when Nux says it. And where's the Team Skull grunt? I thought so. And the last movie reference that I could find in Pokemon Sun and Moon lies within Malie City. Once you get into Malie City, you will be greeted by Samson Oak, the Alolan cousin of the great Professor Oak. Once introduced, he will tell you to meet him in the library, and when telling you the directions on where to go, he says if you're having trouble finding the library, just follow the Black Brick Road. This is an obvious reference to the Wizard of Oz, and could also be a reference to a glitch that was in Pokemon Red and Blue called the Black Brick Road glitch. The latter is a little unlikely considering the glitch wasn't really that popular, but it's still fun to mention. Getting back to the topic of Island Trials, there was a very cool reference made during the Ghost type trial. Once you get to the Mimikyu room, you will have to pull out your Pokefinder to find Mimikyu. In this room there are a lot of pictures, most of which are nothing too special. But if you scroll to the upper right side of your screen, there is a picture of Ash and Pikachu together. This is an Easter egg that a lot of people tend to miss, but nevertheless, it's one of the coolest ways to show Ash. One of the more creepier Easter eggs that is also found in the Ghost type trial actually occurs at the end of it. Once given the Ghost type Z Crystal, Acerola tells us that there is no back room in this abandoned grocery store. Once told this, she gets a chilling feeling and then just leaves. The reason why she's doing this is because if you look at the corner of your screen as she's leaving, you can actually see a Mimikyu leaving the area as well. Really creepy if you ask me. In the Hau'oli Cemetery, players can find a trainer standing beside a gravestone. If you walk up to the trainer and talk to her, she says, "The grave where Pikachu rests. I address it using its words." Players are then challenged by a trainer named Yuke, which is the first name of the legendary Japanese Pikachu voice actress Yuke Otani. The trainer version of Yuke only has one Pokemon, which is a Pikachu, and simply exclaims Pika once players have defeated her in battle. Now this next reference is a lot easier to point out because of the sheer fact that you talk to them. There are a ton of returning characters from previous generations in these games. For example, there's Dexio, Cinna, Cynthia, Colress, Red, Blue, Grimsley, Looker, Annabelle, and even Burnett. How is she a reoccurring character, you ask? Check out this video by BirdKeeperToby, he does a great job explaining how. Speaking of Red, if you take a closer look at him, his shirt actually has the number 96 on it. And this number is important because the original games where he's from was released in the year 1996. This Easter egg was found a lot earlier when the trailer came out for him, but I did say I was going to do all of them, so there you go. And the final Easter egg that I found was located in Hiya City. If you go over to the building near Burnett's lab, you will find what seems to be an exact copy of the actual Game Freak Studios. What leads me to believe this is that in the beginning of the hallway there is a red sign over a switch, which is actually the exact same in real life. But again, it may just be that. One of my favorite things about this Easter egg is when one of the game creators asks you which color you like, red, blue, green, or yellow, and had varying responses that show how the fanbase truly is depending on their preferred version. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and let me know in the comments section below. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and become an Eryizo today. I know I probably missed some, so if you guys found any that I didn't mention, be sure to let me know in the comments section below. If you want to watch my previous video, be sure to click the annotation on the left. And on the right, you can find a playlist for all the Sun and Moon videos that I've done so far. And with that being said, I will see you guys next time.